Right, hello folks. Here's a little tutorial from me just to show you how to do colour changeable brushes on Xara because it's a right pain in the butt. So, let's begin. First of all, what we're going to do is we're going to create some shapes which are actually going to be the basis of our brush. So, let's just create some nice random shapes. Doesn't really matter what they are. Let's get them all about the same size and select them all. And the first thing that you need to understand when you're doing colour changeable brushes is that it's very important that you set everything as the same colour when you start off, and it needs to be a named colour. So first of all, let's open the colour editor and create a colour. Let's go for a nice green, and what we're going to do is we're going to name this colour here. So let's call this green 1, and if you see now we've created a named colour here which is called green 1. So we can close the colour editor now. So our shapes are all selected with that colour. We'll select no outline by right clicking, and I'll just make those a little bit smaller for the moment. Okay, let's have a few more shapes in here as well. Right, yeah. Okay, so a few more shapes. The same colour. Doesn't really matter what they are for the moment. Select no outline. Right, so we've got the colours, the shape selected in our named colour. Now what we need to do is we need to set the default to the named colour for the line. So we right click on green 1 and set and fill. Nothing, set. So there, if we look now, we have the shape selected in this colour. And if we select nothing, we have the default selected as the outline is that colour with no fill. So now we need to create the brush, but before we do that, what we'll do is we'll create some transparency on those shapes first, which will make the brush look nicer. So let's go up to 69, and now select the freehand and brush tool, and if we select create brush, it will take all those shapes that we've got selected and create a brush out of them. So we'll call this green nice. So now if we go back to our selection tool, have nothing selected, we need to set the new brush as the default. So if we open up the line gallery, and there we see nice green is in there, and double click on that and set it. So now that's set, and it's set for 77.82 pixels at the moment. The reason why it sets it to that particular size is probably because of the size of the shapes. So we'll make it a little bit smaller. Let's set the default to 45, and now we can close the line gallery and we can delete the shapes. Now if we draw a line, you will see it's created a line with our new brush. So what we need to do now is we need to go in and edit that brush. So if we go back to, with the line selected, if we go back to the brush tool and go to edit brush, and it'll bring up a dialog for our particular brush. Now what we can do is we can go through all these individual tabs and set some nice properties to make our brush look and feel more organic. So let's start off with the spacing. If we pull that in a bit, you can see the brush nicely overlaps here on the edges to give us that nice effect. And let's randomize this somewhat. So do 55 to 180. So the more randomness we put in there, the more organic it's going to feel. So the sequence progress will make that random as well. And we'll move on to the next tab, offset. Now this is the amount that it jumps off the line. So we we can just have a play about with that. Now, probably for this brush I wouldn't make it probably too great. 0 to 15 is nice. Scaling, once again, we can set the size as a random, which is do around 50 to 290. And once we've done that, there's quite a lot of overlap, so go back to space and kind of just maybe space it out a little bit more until we have certain amounts of overlap, making it look nice. Maybe drop that down slightly, actually. Okay, that's looking good. Then we could go on to rotation. I'd randomise this all the way up to 360. Transparency, we've already set a transparency, but if you wanted to make your brush lighter, then you can set an additional transparency in there, but we've already set it, so we'll leave that. And the fill properties finally, which is where it all starts to get interesting. Now, because this line is set to green, which is the colour we've got, okay. So that was actually set it to black, so we'll set it to green again, and the shapes are green, and it should automatically go to named brush colours, which is what we want. So let's have a play around with this. Now we can set the saturation, which is the amount of colour that goes in there. So a nice, maybe up to about 20. And also the hue we can change. If we go all the way, then it's completely rainbow colours. But it's nice just to put a little bit of colour change in here, maybe 0 to 20 or 0 to 30. Now if we save our new brush, save this brush as we've edited it, or save it as a new brush, then the brush is saved. And hey presto, when we draw with it, it's the nice, gives some nice organic coloured results. And if we open the colour editor and draw a line, so that line will be selected, and go to the line, local line colour on the drop down, so we change the actual line colour, and then change that line, hey presto, every time you draw something new in there, you can go in and you can change the colour of it. So you now have a completely organic brush, which allows you to build up your painting. You can also go in and rechange the transparency of the brush once you've done it as well, if you'd use this method. So you can start to build up a nice kind of picture shape from that. And here presto, you have a nice sexy brush that you can use for whatever. The end. So basically, to recap, most important thing is that at every stage you create a named colour, which we did, and set the line colour when you create the brush, set the line colour when you save the brush, and set the shapes to the same named colour then after. And also, obviously, in your settings, make sure that named brush colours are selected. Then at every stage afterwards, you should just be able to go in and change the colour. Job done.